Hello, welcome to pageeater, a weekly manga podcast. Thank you for joining me. If you're here on Patreon, I love you very much. If you're here on YouTube, I also love you just a little bit less. For YouTube viewers, if you want this 5 days earlier, consider going over to Patreon. It supports me directly, you get this early, and there's even some exclusive goodies. Why not? I want to apologize if I sound a little bit unenthusiastic. I've come off being a little bit unwell over the past couple of weeks, and then today I just feel drained. Like zero energy, super exhausted, super tired. I'm not entirely sure why. My sleep schedule has been a little bit all over the place, so maybe that's it. But it's not what you're here for, but a bit of context. Hopefully that is okay. The chapters this week were pretty good, actually. I had a really fun time, some surprises, some curveballs. There's a lot of material here. Unfortunately, no Choujin X. I tried to wait till the last minute to see if a Choujin X chapter would get translated. It didn't, so it has to go to the next week, unfortunately, because the rules are out and usually the chapter gets translated on a Monday. It's currently Tuesday for me. Let's start with Kagurabachi. This was an interesting chapter, a bonus one. I'm surprised we're getting this though. I guess it makes sense in the context of ending a part of your story. You kind of want to have a bit of breathing room to allow people to digest the part and then figure out where we go from here. How big of a time skip do we have for Kagurabachi? You know what I mean? Which could only just be this chapter. Only. We have a bit of context for Sawyer. I guess I'm surprised he's the one getting attention. It's not a bad chapter by any means, it's just a little bit different. The portrayal of Sawyer is funny because no one likes him. Like he's not a person that is easily likable because of his attitude, his affliction to his brother and his family, the abusiveness that he brings forward, the, I guess, emotional complexity of his mind and how he views certain things is just really gross and corrupted and all over the place. It's a horrible experience, and that definitely comes from how he perceives the world, but also how his father perceives the world, and like that whole family indoctrinating him into a certain type of mindset. And luckily for us, Hakuri has been such a phenomenal character and is able to escape the clutches of his family and that whole oppressive mindset. So seeing it with Sawyer in this way is both sad, something that you may be empathetic towards, but also you get it. Like, you know what type of character he's going to realistically go back to being. Horrible, abusive human being. The chapter's primary focus is Sawyer's memory loss and trying to recover the feeling of what he's lost. Writing wise, I think this is actually a phenomenal chapter. Like, it's really well handled in the context of things. It has a weight and emotional texture to it that I find really fascinating. And if this was like any other character in any other situation, I'd be even more locked in. But for someone that even I don't care about, and I care about a lot of characters, I was locked in for this, which I found rather surprising. The exploration of trying to figure out what Sawyer is missing from all of this, to eventually finding it within his brutality, his strength, his abusiveness, is really odd. You know, like he's so happy and cheerful and he's crying, he's in tears because he's found what it is that makes him tick, really, which is being really destructive. And as soon as this clicks over, you can kind of see the disgusting nature of it all. Like who he is at his core is this brutal husk of a man, someone that ravels in strength only and beats down on the weak and the brittle, the innocent even. It's an oddly fun and fascinating chapter to indulge with. It isn't all too much there, honestly, but it's enough to get you by. I don't have all too much to add to this chapter or to expand upon it or anything like that. I think it was fine. I think it was fun. I think it was interesting to see Sawyer and how he could canonically be brought back into the story, I guess, with these bonus chapters. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter. He could just stay in the bonus chapters for all we care. I guess I'm more interested to see how this break is utilized towards the next chapter. Or an actual chapter, I should say. Even though time and attention was put into here, I wonder what Hoku's owner has been cooking for the main part of his next story. Ichi the Witch easily had the most emotional chapter of the bunch. It was very heavy, and that's to be expected. This situation with Minerva and Chrono and Ichi and everybody else, we all knew this was going to happen, right? For the way that Chrono was using his abilities and what he done with Ichi and how much energy that would cost, he was willing to sacrifice his life to save the love of his life. And a big part of that conversation is the trust that Chrono has in Ichi, a human. So basically the conversation boils down to a magic trusting wholeheartedly in a human. I think that is a very powerful moment for the story, especially with what's to come, because we get into this situation where Chrono is disappearing. He's losing his ability to do anything, and there's this magical mirror that pops up so Minerva can speak to him one last time, and it's this really emotional, introspective moment between them. It's very intimate. Prior to that, he even has something incredible for Octobomb, which is surprising because I didn't think out of all the people, especially magics, Octo would even care. He's someone that has been brutalizing this entire arc for the longest, with fights and expectation and hype and energy and explosives. He kind of just wants to fight everyone and be the strongest, but now he's actually trying to provide a different purpose for Octo, and I think that is very sweet, especially because Chrono talks to him on a really equal level, doesn't try and beat him in a game, doesn't try to win him over with anything else. All he tries to do is be sincere, honest, open to Octo, and I think that really hits home, not only for the story as a whole and this message of this arc, but also for Octo as a character. Someone that was so complicated and all over the place, being told that it is okay for him to make friends among the weak, something that he genuinely hated. It's nice for Chrono to part with that message and basically saying, like, if you're so strong, protect humans. Don't hate them, protect them. Learn how to love the weak. Asking that as his last favor is really powerful, and I think will go a long way in where Octo goes from here. I wouldn't be surprised if he gives himself over to Descaris, or even helps Descaris, or gives himself over to perhaps even Ichi, which I think would be the best way to go. And I've come to really like Octo as a character, especially in these moments. Obviously, I like Chrono more, but Octo at the beginning didn't really excite me all too much, but now, towards the end, he's really come full circle, and seeing this moment between them feels amazing. It's so bittersweet. There's some gorgeous artwork in here for the final moments of Crow and Minerva, him reflecting on his memories and not being able to talk to Minerva through this magical mirror. It's really sad, and he's just taking in everything he loves about her for his final moments before he disappears. But something happens. Through the sheer desperation of Minerva wanting to talk to Chrono one last time, just for a couple of seconds before he disappears, he magically respawns back. And it's a wish being granted, time being reversed. It is her child. Her child is actively rewriting time, which means that the next time magic, or whatever this magic is incredibly powerful and bestowing this type of power to Minerva and Chrono, which is crazy that this child can do this. I know a lot of people don't enjoy the cop-out death moments. To me, this is one of the times where it works really well. It's perfectly okay, especially because you're getting context for the child and what they're capable of. I think a lot of us had that idea in the back of my mind that obviously this child is going to be different because it's half human, half magic. I don't know how many people expected it to be the next time magic, or even use its ability right now. But I think it's nice. I think it's a great way to end off the scene, to end off the chapter, and to push forward to next week, where Chrono and Minerva can have the final conversation between them. It's still going to be very sad and emotional, but at least now they have an opportunity to talk and to express themselves fully without any regrets, which I think is very beautiful. Of course, I am hoping for Descaris, fingers crossed that we actually get her eventually, which now that we're done with this, more than likely, maybe Octo can help her. I don't know. I'm very concerned for her safety, for what she has to deal with over there, and the fact that we haven't been back there for quite some time does throw some alarms up in the air, so we'll see with that one. But overall, a phenomenal chapter, and I had a fun time. Danadan is finally moving things forward in a really cool way. So we knew the ultimate yokai thing that was happening, which basically kickstarts this part of this story, the full reasoning or meaning behind the name Danadan, right? And the idea is that Saint Germain is taking all of the main character's abilities and putting them into a singular person. In terms of what this actually accomplishes, I don't really know. Like, why else do you create something like this if it isn't to fight something else? Does that make sense? And maybe that is the idea. Maybe there's something else on the horizon that we just don't know about when it comes to what the meaning of Danadan is, or, why take all of these powers and put them into one person, right? But then this one person doesn't seem nice or friendly, or they seem evil and someone that the main cast are going to have to fight eventually, even though they don't have their powers. So I don't really know how we kickstart that type of fight anyway. I guess my questioning lands on the why. As cool as the ideas are, I'm curious, like, why is this here to begin with? The story has taken its time to build to this moment, and I know a lot of people are getting more and more frustrated at it because it feels like it's stalling around this idea of taking characters' abilities, especially because Momo and Ken don't have their powers anymore. So it feels odd for them to interact with a lot of people and to kind of go about the story, and it's in a weird, not struggle necessarily, but trench. I don't know, it feels like it's a bit sluggish, I guess would be the better word to use, because you have to slowly kind of meticulously build through these different fights and situations that sometimes you might not be all too interested in. As much as I've enjoyed Danadan over the weeks, there is something odd about this arc, and obviously it's the start of something much bigger. The ultimate yokai stuff I find very fascinating, but because it's so scarce and we don't really know all too much about it, or its purpose, its reasoning, blah blah blah, which is all stuff that will be explained eventually, it's just a little bit difficult to get behind. Obviously I love seeing Momo and Ken and the main cast of characters because they're fun, they're the energy, they're the star of this story, and when they're split, it's a little bit difficult to indulge in the funness and chaoticness that they bring because of how long apart they actually might be. Top of that, Momo doesn't have her memory, so it's a little bit difficult to bring everyone together successfully, so you're kind of fighting a multitude of different battles with no one really having a clue on what's going on, and only just now we're getting a little bit more of a revelation with Saint Germain and what he's trying to do, which still isn't very clear. I always have a fun time with Danadan. I don't expect a crazy amount from it, so a chapter like this isn't the worst thing in the world for me. It's just a nice breezy experience with a little bit more to add on top, and hopefully we can get more in the upcoming chapters, because I'm curious, truly, to see where we go with the ultimate yokai stuff and its reasoning, its whole purpose, so I'm excited for that. Blue Box actually done it. I didn't know if we would actually get the Kyo and Ayame stuff. I thought we would avoid it, honestly. It is one of those things that it's like, you kind of expect them to get together, like, do we have to show it? Is it really that important? But I'm glad that they did. It's funny that it's here though. Like, I kind of thought it would take place before Taiki and Shinatsu's stuff in the previous chapter, but because we're getting it here, it's like the closure of this kind of moment for his character. I wouldn't be surprised now if we get something with Hinam and her love interest, which is one-sided currently, but you never know. I really liked this chapter. Again, very simple, very sweet. Blue Box always gets straight to the point. It doesn't really dilly-dally. If you don't like Kyo and Ayame though, this chapter means nothing for you. To be honest, Kyo has been building this relationship for a very, very long time. Ayame has probably had more development than him in terms of her relationship. It's kind of her utilage to the story, as well as being the coach, helping out everyone with activities, etc. So it's about time that these two finally intermingled and got together. A surprise or a reveal or anything, it's kind of just like a please hurry up and finally do it, and it's here. And it's a pretty chapter, very beautiful, a slow burn, but they definitely start to understand each other. Funny enough, it's from Ayame's perspective, which is something I didn't actually think would happen. I thought because Kyo was steeling himself for a moment like this and preparing to hand everything over to Ayame and be like, look, express his feelings, that it would be solely from his perspective. He finally made that decision to do it. But because Ayame is kind of the relationship person in this story and been through multiple relationships and how she views partners and friends and boyfriends and blah blah blah, how she views Kyo is a little bit different. So I found it actually rather nice to kind of go through her mental gymnastics for the chapter, and even the little call out at the end where Kyo tells her to wait for a specific moment so he can actually confess, which I thought was very pretty. And they have this very mutual moment between them that felt uplifting. Again, sweet, simple, very much to the point, but something that has been bubbling for what feels like years now, finally getting concluded, putting the story fully closure into Endgame, and we can move forward from this. It was nice. I liked it. I thought the dialogue was very sweet and a great way to bring them finally together. I would love a little bit more from them, in the next handful of chapters, if we even get that, just to see them interact with other people as a couple. I think that'd be cute. But, I'm happy with how this turned out, and it's about time, to be honest. So Mad is finally here, and I am very, very concerned. I was talking about this with some friends, right? Because we're like, okay, we're in a good position. Pano and Alder and all the other humans, they're able to get out of this compound, right? Not too bad. That's good. We're in a good position. Pano's alive, Alder's alive, everyone else is alive too. That's great. But I'm concerned. The reason I'm concerned is because we go through this effort to set up people in very peculiar positions, and the oddity of this scenario is Yuzuru. Even though Pano is technically fully healed now, at least regenerated, I don't know, in terms of ability-wise or adapter-wise, if she could transform, there is a problem with how strong Yuzuru is compared to everybody else. There's a good thing about this though, is that we don't know how strong John is. For one, he's been training, his mental state is entirely different. Emotionally, he's switched on, he's ready to fight Yuzuru, he knows what to even expect, partially, and then he also has a full body transformation that we have yet to see. And if he can access that while keeping his mind intact, that's going to be a pretty big deal, a big boost of power. There's also the possibility of John cannibalizing as well, maybe a little bit, just to get an edge as well, but that's just a Hail Mary idea. This current time, I don't know where to scale Yuzuru and how much I should even treat him as a threat, because I'm putting him up there as like 100% top tier threat, unbeatable. John is also incredibly powerful, but also doesn't really know what he's fully capable of, so it's like, maybe he's like 80%, 75%. Pano is probably like an 85%, but she's injured, so maybe she's like a 45%. Alder's strong, but he's probably like a 40% as well. So really, all three of them could probably take Yuzuru, but if that happens, one of them's dying. Yuzuru is problematic in the sense of he's very unpredictable, and with the cannibalization of him, we don't know the extent of it. I think it's very cool though that John feels committed to this fight. As much as Yuzuru is losing control and turning into this bubbling monstrosity of a husk, it's ridiculous to see all of this stuff happen. He even tries to go for Alder, he tries to go for Pano, he tries to go for the civilians, but John is able to cool, calm and collected push him back. I need John to lock in, and he is locked in, admittedly. He's using everything at his disposal, but he has so much more to give. This is a dire fight and a scenario that I'm still very nervous about. I don't want Pano or Alder to join the fight, as much as that would be very cool, because I'm scared they're going to get killed trying to save John. The more I think about it, the more sad I'll be if it actually happens. So at this point, I kind of just want John to try and raw dog Yuzuru. On his own, on his ones, just run the hand, run the fades, see how far he can get, and if he needs to, go into the full ultimate armor form, the John Thunder form, I'm gonna call it, and just pull out the horns. He is a monstrosity that we have yet to see. Maybe he can finally control it, which I think would be cool, and go up against Yuzuru in hand-to-hand combat. If you need that upper edge, try and cannibalize on him. Just a little bit though, I don't know. Maybe send other aliens to him, which I think would be rather fitting, and if I remember correctly, there should still be an alien in the compound under shackle, but if John goes into the horn mode, maybe he could mentally control it, because that's kind of what the horn things do. They're like generals or commanders so far for the alien hive. So perhaps I think it'd be very fitting for Yuzuru's death if he were to die that way, ate by all of the things he supposedly worships, these gods, just a bunch of them cannibalizing on him, which I think would be fantastic. I love this chapter. I love how it's drawn. I love how it's depicted. I think it's absolutely incredible. Mad, for me, always is super, super fun. And even though it's bi-weekly, I always look forward to it. It's always on my radar, and I'm super excited to see what happens next. Witch Riv, fantastic. I'm gonna be honest though, Gear, absolute hate this man. Like the audacity to say that he was left to die, nah, I'm done. I'm tired of this man. Get him out the story, but knowing Raoul and how he treats people, he'll still try and forgive him because that's just Raoul's character. He's too nice. He's too friendly. Gear, he needs to be dealt with in the worst way possible because he beats up Bellator, even gives, Nona and Mira a run for their money, but it's nice to see them actually work together. Like at this point, I didn't really know what to expect. We haven't really had a magic battle before, but I think this is the perfect place to have it, right? Because Gear's magical tool isn't really too crazy. It is like earthbending. It's more like sand, really. And he can maneuver and do a lot of things. And the main girlies can't do all too much. Like they're getting crafty. They're trying to figure things out. They're trying new things, but nothing's really working. So what you get throughout this chapter is just them trying to figure out Gear's magical tool, how to counteract it, what they can do, how to improve their magic, and also getting Gear being the worst human being possible. Like genuinely, he just continues to just be useless, worthless, horrible person through and through. I feel bad for Raoul for even being with him for so long, even giving him the benefit of the doubt, even trying to save him, which is crazy. Maybe Gear doesn't know that, but I don't think Gear is even redeemable at all in the slightest. I hope not, because I just genuinely hate his character. I haven't hated a character in a very long time. This man is just unapologetically horrible. Mira is able to experiment with her ability a little bit more to get Nona and herself out of a sticky situation by burrowing into the ground. But the problem is Nona's ability. See, she has a magical power that basically stitches things together, right? And it's a needle on a thread, which sounds really cool. There's not a lot you can actually do with it. Like, what can you do? Well, now we're kind of getting into the body horror element of it, which I think is really fascinating, and how she has to materialize that type of action in her mind. Instead of trying to wrap around Gear and subdue him or to sew him to something else because he'll just get out of it with his magical tool, she starts to sew through his hand and his body and actually send the needle into his body and straight to his heart. While she's doing this, she's kind of giving feedback on what it feels like and how weird it is, and it's difficult to control, and it's something she's never even thought about before because it's an offensive type of magic, but this is what I live for. It's very simple in its approach and design and even its structure, but it's effective. I like it a lot, and I hope the further we get into the story, the more utilization we get for magic. Creative and interesting this type of design philosophy can actually be utilized, especially with how they internalize the magic and what they need to do to keep pushing themselves forward, not only to save their own lives or to get out of sticky situations, but to improve their own magical capabilities. There is a plethora of possibilities, and I think Witch Riv and its magical system has the opportunity to do some very fun things, especially in the combat with how low and small they're starting off with. This is like the first fight they're getting into, so it's fun and exciting, and I'm interested to see with how it actually ends. As usual, I want to give an update and some light thoughts on 3 different series: Kanatu's Magic, Alien Headbutt, and Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo's recent chapters. All of them very fun. Starting with Kanato, again, giving big fairy tale vibes. That's all I can think about when I read this story. It does have a fan service moment, which feels so odd nowadays. I feel like I haven't read a weekly story in a long time like that just dropped out fan service like this so casually. Obviously, it's very common when Weekly Shonen Jump. It's very common in manga in general. It just caught me off guard. I feel like I haven't seen it in a long time. And maybe because I'm very picky about the stories that I read, or I don't read them long enough for them to appear, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it made me laugh, that's for sure. But then I always just think back to Fairy Tail, I'm like, yeah, maybe this is just Fairy Tail coded with that bit of spice and fan service that it's going for. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's nicely drawn, it's a great chapter, it's very fun, a lot of power going on, a lot of development as well. The connection between the 2 characters I think is really nice, and the exploration of abilities I think is interesting as well. I think the biggest hurdle for this story is making you care about the main characters, because everyone else is really cool, but your main character is difficult. He's the underdog. He's the adventurer that doesn't even have a rank really. He's considered colorless, have a magical ability that's really effective against fighting things, but he is a good support character. He does help and aid people. He's able to figure out his friend's problem with the mana connection with her sword, which I found very interesting, and he's able to boost that effectively and fix it in a way where she's able to use it effectively, which I think fun. That's cool. I like that. That gimmick runs out though, so we have to kind of figure out what can actually take its place and how do we turn this into genuine, tried and true progression. But so far it's fun, I enjoy it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Alien Headbutt had a fun chapter, and it's gross. It's definitely one of the darker stories of Weekly Shonen Jump, just being brutal and over the top, but the appeal of that I think could be very interesting. My only concern is that it's kind of pacing through things rather rapidly, trying to keep you entertained. I'm hoping that's working for readers in Japan, because that's where it matters the most. But the big alien creature in here, very cool. Like, we get to the school quick, we get to helping the civilians in these little egg sack things very quickly. We find a bunch of dead alien corpses and we're like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. And then a bigger alien rocks up and the main character tries to fight him. Nah, no wrestling moves are working on this big fella. He is huge. He's actually eating the other aliens, which is interesting, because now it shows that there's more than one species. They don't all coexist with each other. They all operate differently. Some are obviously gigantic or evolved in ways that are very different, and they're not on the same side. So now I'm like, okay, we can go down some really cool paths. We can have the main character evolve with parasite within his body that's going to allow him to get stronger, to fight stronger aliens. And the more complex, weird, wacky, out there design-wise these aliens become, I think the more interesting it's going to be. We still kind of have to get some sort of narrative going though. We're a bit behind on that, which it's okay. It's still early days. I can see the author trying to like show the readers what he's capable of. Like, look, this is what I have to offer. This is the wacky weirdness of it. And hopefully that's a big enough appeal, because the magazine doesn't really have anything like this. I think it's fun. It's out there and really, really weird. Last but not least is Modulo. Look, I don't have much to say about this chapter in terms of good things. I wouldn't say it's the worst chapter ever. I'm just not really a fan. I guess the best way I can put it is that if you haven't watched my main channel video on Modulo, on the Sufferance channel, that pretty much clarifies everything that I find wrong with Modulo. And the more that I read this story, the more my complaints in that video feel kind of valid to me. Modulo has a time problem, it has a pacing problem, is struggling to kind of confine everything into the 3 volumes that it set for itself. And because of that, some things feel like they're being chopped around, some things feel chopped short, some things are crammed together. The flow of the story feels unnaturally weird. Everything's just happening in a blink of an eye at the beat of any second, and it throws the flow of the first 60% of the story out of the window, which is kind of crazy. Look, I don't think it's the worst thing ever. I don't think this chapter is horribly written by any means. I think there's just a lot of attention to detail in here that is very unnecessary, funny enough. I feel like the chapter tries to re-explain things that explained itself in the previous chapter without really doing it in a way that makes sense, or maybe in a better word, valuable. It's a bit odd. Like, the conversation between Maru and Yuji feels overly convoluted for no reason. I feel like it could be slimmed down and trimmed down to be a lot more enjoyable to digest. The Dabura fight with Maharaga is just gone now, and then you're kind of getting into the ending of the story where everything is just like, kumbaya, we're going to heal everything, we're going to use Maru's technique with Cross, of course, we're going to fix this world and, you know, save the next generation of sorcerers, with Yuji being the last remnant hunting down cursed spirits or something. Like, it's a pretty grand idea. The whole harmonious thing is interesting. I just think it needs more time in the oven, and something that Akatami does not want to give it is time. He gave it 3 volumes, and I think where it's necessary now, it's not going to get it. I'm still going to read it to the end just to see how it concludes. I don't have like massive stocks in Kaizen or Modulo or anything like that, so it doesn't really matter all too much to me if I don't really end up enjoying the story or its ending once again. But I can understand the concerns for other people, obviously. There's massive fans for Kaizen and Modulo, so I'm curious to see how other people feel about this. Maybe it's not even a big deal. Maybe everyone's perfectly fine with it. Or for the small amount that I've personally seen, people are kind of up in the air, a bit of like all over the place for Modulo. So my only real wish is that I would have wanted Akatami to restructure the story in its focus and given it more time. I think that would have been very beneficial to the story that he wanted to tell. That brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you immensely. For my Patreon members, thank you very much for supporting me. I truly appreciate it. I'm sorry if I still sound a little bit unenthusiastic, but I love you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Consider heading over to Patreon to get this podcast early and to support me directly. I appreciate it immensely. Leave a like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I will see you all next week. Mwah.